Today I plan on going over my finances for the month of September. I made a lot more money than I thought I was going to make, but I also spent a lot more money than I thought I was going to make. And I think this is actually the first time that I've tracked my finances for the whole month in the last probably, I'm going to say maybe 2 or 3 years. It's been quite a while, mainly because I've had a lot of things going on. Also, I got to a point where I was making so much money, not like a lot of money, but just my expenses were so low that it didn't really make sense for me to spend all my energy and time tracking my finances. But since things have changed and I don't really have roommates anymore, now it's just me and my wife, I think I need to start tracking and really paying attention to every detail of all my actions as far as finances go. So this is my $1 Million Diary. My name is Eddie Cespedes, and if you don't know, in this channel, I just document my journey. I'm going from zero to $1 million net worth. To start things off, we're gonna go over my income. So as far as income, I made $15,367 for the month of September, which was pretty good, but my expenses totaled $12,946. So the cash flow on that is $2,421. And I know I made a video earlier where I was documenting how my month went for September, and the number was different. It was like 13,000 and some change. But I went over my finances again, and then I realized that there was a couple charges that I added twice. So I went back and adjusted that. So that is the correct expense for the month of September, $12,946. Cash flow, $2,421. Now, as far as my Roth IRA, I contributed $484.76. So technically that's not really an expense because I'm investing. So if you want to remove that, then it really brings my cash flow up to $2,906. And going over all the expenses, we'll start doing that now. So I gave my stepfather $275. That's part of his half of one of our business ventures. Personal credit cards, nothing. I pretty much clear that. As I use it, I pay it off. So I don't really carry my balances over to the following month unless there was a big expense that for whatever reason I do have to carry it over. But mainly I try to clear the card. I try to clear every statement balance because I don't want to pay fees or anything like that on the credit cards. And I don't think I've paid fees in a while, even though actually I was charged a late fee a couple of months ago, which was odd. But if you call, they'll just remove it sometimes. You can't really make a habit out of it. As far as mortgages and HOAs, I paid $6,705. So there goes a big chunk of that revenue. Utilities, about $250, internet, $75, water, $60, repairs, $395. And I'm rounding these to the closest dollar, by the way. I don't feel like going over all the cents and all that stuff. Repairs, this was for the rental that is always giving me a headache, $395. I thought it was fixed, but it wasn't. So next week, the contractor will be going back over there to see what really happened. Gas, I spent $156. On tolls, I spent $121. Insurance, I didn't pay anything because I paid my insurance. I paid in full, and then that way I only make 2 payments a year every 6 months. When the policy renews, I just go ahead and pay that off in full because you get a little bit of a discount doing that. For groceries, I spent $180. My wife typically does the majority of the groceries, but I try to help out here and there. Restaurants, I spent $249. I spent $80 on coffee, which is a lot. Normally, I spend about $35. $80 is pretty high in coffee, but that was also the month that I was doing a lot of studying for the national board exams. So I spent a lot of time in Starbucks, and every time I go to Starbucks, it's about $5.50 to $6, depending on which Starbucks I go to. So that makes sense. The groceries, I went over my budget by $130 because I typically try to keep it around $50, because then the wife typically does the majority of the groceries, but things happen. Let's see. On those mortgages, the mortgages and HOAs, I went over. I was predicting that I was going to spend 6,300, but there was an HOA fee that was paid quarterly, and it turned out that for that quarter, the HOA was due, and it slipped my mind, so I never documented it as part of those expenses. Clothing, I typically don't ever spend money on clothing. My phone is $50. Haircuts, $44. And subscriptions, I spent $52 on subscriptions, which is crazy. And that makes sense. That's lower than what it used to be. I've cut a lot of subscriptions out. Entertainment, nothing, because I'm boring. Miscellaneous, $3,467. Let's see what we got in here. Oh, that's why. I spent $1,504 on inventory for some products that I'll sell on eBay. I broke our Apple remote, so I ended up buying another one that cost me $38. I actually got an eBay refund, which was BS. But yeah, that was $64. I ended up paying that with my own personal credit card, not the business credit card that I use. And then I spent $38.51 on somebody's present. And to be honest, I don't know what I bought, and I don't know why I spend it, because I typically don't spend money on. Oh, okay. This was on my godson. I thought it was on a coworker because they have the same name, but no. Okay, this was for my godson. So that makes sense. I just figured that out now. I thought I tripped and like hit my head on a rock or something, because that doesn't happen. My gym membership is $30. There was $10 joint expense here. I don't know what that was for. If I open it up, yeah, I didn't write anything on the notes. It's just $10. I don't know what I used it for. And then on medicine and vitamins, I spend $10.26. Which I think my monthly budget on that is $20. And then my student loans, I paid $250. So I typically, my student loans, I think my minimum payment, or the payment that I'm supposed to make every month, is $119, but I just put $250 consistently. And what I try to do is I do like the avalanche method. So I just take the loans, rearrange them from the ones that have the highest interest rates to the lowest interest rates, and then I just start paying the ones with the higher interest rates first, and then I take whatever that minimum payment was, and I add it to the next payment for the second loan on that list. So I think actually for October, I'm raising that to I think like 500, because I've been thinking about just consistently, even after I pay the student loans, like I want to get to a number where I just use that number to pay off debt, because I have a lot of real estate debt. So just so that I can always be constantly deleveraging, I'm thinking that number might be $500. So after I pay the student loans, I'll probably add those extra $500 to one of the mortgages, so I can try and pay that off a little quicker. So yeah, those are my expenses. Some of the things that I need to work on here look like I went over on the mortgages and HOA, as I said. I went over on the tolls because my budget is 60, but I ended up taking my mom's car to run some errands, pick up some things because she's got a bigger car, and it made the tolls run a little bit higher. I planned to spend 50 on groceries. I spent like 130, like I said, and I was way over. Was it 130? Let me go. Sorry, 180. And I planned for 50. So my budget is 50. I went way over. Restaurants is 250. And I spent $249.30, which is good. So I stayed within that. At $250, to be honest, is a lot for restaurants, but I had an expensive wife who just loves to eat out. So I just capped it at $250, and it looks like that worked perfectly. Coffee, $80. I typically budget for $30, so I went over on that. Subscriptions, $50. I ended up going over by $2. Miscellaneous, that is I planned $300 for miscellaneous. And oh yeah, let's go back to that. I completely got off track. Miscellaneous was really the biggest expense that was unexpected. So I said I spent 1500 about $1,505 for inventory. The Apple remote, let's see, that was the eBay refund, my godson's present, and then Etsy, I got a refund as well. I got a refund and a negative review, and that cost me $23. And for insurance premium, I spent $1,768 on an insurance premium that the bank never paid, so I had to pay for it out of pocket. And then the insurance company would refund me. And that refund came in last week and it's already been deposited. So it'll show up on my finances as part of income that I received or gross receipt for the month of October, which is this month. And a doctor's visit that cost me $30. So yeah, it looks like the reason the miscellaneous expense category is so high, it's really mainly because of the inventory purchase, which was $1,500, and the insurance premium, which was unexpected, but it has to be paid, and I'm gonna get reimbursed for that later. So aside from that, everything's pretty good. Yeah. So if I got that insurance, I get reimbursed for that insurance premium, which I did. That would have, if you remove that, that would have pushed my cash flow to about 40, close to 5,000, like 4,800. It's like 4,700. So overall, I think September was a pretty successful month. I actually learned a lot in September as far as e-commerce. So that is my finances for the month of September, and I will make another one for October. I don't think October is going to be as nice as this one because I'm planning on doing all this moving and all this stuff that I got to get worked out. So if not October, November, but one of these 2 months, my finances are probably going to look a little screwed up. The expense side is going to be a little bit high, but after we figure that out, I should be set up to really just start going up, 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 and up. So there it is. That is the month of September. And I'll catch you guys next month for my finances for October.